Bear down, Chicago Bears. Today marks the start of the OTAs. We're going to start to see, or at least get an idea of what it looks like. I don't know who's going to be there yet. We're going to look through it. Emmanuel Ogbah might be on the agenda here. The offensive line got a good power ranking. I think it was 16th. The linebackers look to be setting themselves to be elite this year. And if you want to go see the Bears, it's going to cost you a little bit more this year than it did last year. We got some more pictures coming out from the Chicago Bears Twitter account. If you like this type of content, you know what to do. Make sure you hit that like button. Helps push me up in the algorithm. If you haven't already, let's get after it. But first, let's check this whole thing out. And Emmanuel Ogbah. So this is kind of interesting. So first, we have everybody should know at this point that we need a little bit of help on the defensive line. It hasn't been the deepest of rosters. When Montez Sweat came, it really changed the dynamic of the Chicago Bears defense. Now, I've been a fan of DeMarcus Walker. I continue to be a fan of DeMarcus Walker. And I was a fan of the defensive line. Very weak, though. Very weak. However, I was hoping for some really nice improvements coming in. Well, Bill Barnwell from ESPN is also like me. You know, they're okay. I mean, you know, we're going to be the number one rushing defense if we continue where we are, but 25th ranked passing defense means that we were not getting pressure on the quarterback, and we have to do a good job with that. Well, one of the things that happened was the addition of Austin Booker as a potential edge rusher, but he is something of a future prospect. He's going to need to get a little stronger. He might come in. And it got a little bit interesting. And Caleb Williams says, I don't think we sign anyone until Caleb and Rome sign their contracts. Well, that doesn't matter because they're rookie coded in. So, you know, there's nothing really to them. They'll end up they're just, look, they want to sign last. You know what I mean? Everybody else I think has been signed so far, except those guys. But I don't think that it's really going to matter. They don't have to throw extra money at them. There's a salary cap in place. There's a rookie cap. So, you know, Caleb gets $9 million. Rome, I think, gets 6.5, something like that. It's already plugged in. So I don't think that's really an issue. However, there's got to be somebody to help with the pass rush. The Bears checked off with just about everything in their needs in the offseason, except not adding a second pass rusher. Now, Austin Booker, again, future prospect. He needs some time to get into the swing of things and become whatever it is that he might be. And what he might be is a fantastic player. However, it's going to take some size. It's going to take some time to get him up to par. He's just not ready. At 6'3", yes. 240 pounds, probably not. That's not an every down guy. He needs to be 270 at least, I would imagine. Maybe 260 you can get by. But he's a strong guy and he works hard. So, you know, maybe we end up seeing it. But even with Sweat playing, the Bears ranked 21st in sack rate and 25th in pressure rate. Again, this is the number one overall rushing defense, but they were not very good at sacking the quarterback, and they were not very good at getting pressure. So, Brian Barnwell thinks that Emmanuel Ogbah would probably be the guy. Last year, the Bears took a training camp flyer on Yannick Ngakoue, but it didn't pan out as they paid him $10.5 million for a career low 4 sacks. Ogbah should come in at a fraction of that cost. He spent most of last season in a limited role with the Dolphins as a return from a triceps injury and was buried behind multiple standouts on the depth chart, but he still managed 5.5 sacks and 9 knockdowns across just 128 pass rushing opportunities. Now, just let that sink in. You know, if you have a good ratio for the NFL, it's about 50-50 run versus pass. Really, it's about 53%, 47%. But just consider he only had 128 pass rushing opportunities. That translates to 5.5 sacks and 9 knockdowns. And imagine what he could do over the course of an entire season, especially if you could get him at $2 million. Consider that you're going to get an average of about, if you're a good player and you get a little bit of time, you're going to get about 300 to 350 attempts at the quarterback. In 128, this guy had 5.5 sacks. What would happen if he comes in here and has 15 sacks with over 300 snaps? Now, what does that cost to the defense in terms of rushing defense? I don't know the answer to that. We'll have to let the season play out. But the guy is a game-changing sort of guy, dealing with some injuries. You know, at 30 years old, he's in the prime, so he's not on the downside really. But he might lose a step. You know, we're in a society now that we're getting better and better and better at you know, riding the and holding off the age factor. So maybe we'll see something happen here. Per Pro Football Focus, Ogbah earned a 57.2 overall grade for his play. He also earned a 39.7 for his run defense. So we're going to suffer there, but 67 on his pass rush. So even if he comes in on obvious passing plays, he would still get over 200 reps. It would be my opinion. And that's spelling Montez Sweat with Austin Booker and moving that to that side, and then having a rotation of DeMarcus Walker on the obvious rushing plays, and then having Emmanuel Ogbah on the obvious passing downs to see what this looks like. And you know what? This could end up being a very interesting defense in the event that something like that would happen. However, the one thing that we have to remember is if we like Emmanuel Ogbah, we have to remember we like Yannick Ngakoue too, because he had 8.5 sacks for every season of his career until coming to Chicago. So now the question is, what happens there? Ogbah would be a Band-Aid for the defense. He wouldn't last incredibly long, but here's the thing. With DeMarcus Walker, who again, I don't want to say anything bad about DeMarcus Walker. I think he's putting in the work this year to continue to improve. But when you get beyond Montez Sweat and DeMarcus Walker, who's your number 3 guy? Austin Booker? I mean, that you have a rookie as your number 3 guy. Well, you know what? Let's just say this. Dominique Robinson is there. And then this guy who, by the way, let's do a shout out and a happy birthday. Happy birthday to Byron Cowart. So, you know, maybe he gets some reps. Maybe. So, maybe, you know, the depth is going to be an issue. So, but the question is, how far could you get into the playoffs? How far do you think you could get with this defense? And look, again, number one rushing defense. If we're just a little bit better at the passing defense, you know, I think we're going to be better, but I don't know how good this ends up being. So, the time for the Bears today, you know what? Doesn't have a time. I only think you can do like 3 hours a day or something like that. So I don't think that there's no time listed. Well, at least there's no time listed on the website. So maybe there was an announcement made, but I don't have it. Well, let's move on though, by the way. Emmanuel Ogbah could be coming. When we know more, we'll be posting it. Latest offensive line power rankings, however, might surprise you because the Chicago Bears come in on the at least in the middle of the pack. The Chicago Bears did a little bit of upgrading. If you look at my little chart here, and you can see, you know, Ryan Bates really the move. And if we go down the list here of the guys that we like and what they did, you know, obviously Darnell Wright in the first 12 or so games of the season was lights out, was fantastic. Struggled a little bit in the last 5 games, probably got a little winded, probably a little banged up, you know. It happens, but he should make a giant leap in his second year because he was first solid and he was improving. So would stand to reason that he'd be a little bit better and a little bit more prepared for that second season. Plus, he's a little more familiar with the people around him, especially Nate Davis. Nate Davis, of course, his mother passed away last season. That affected him mentally, caused some problems with him, and now it looks like maybe he's a little more focused and a little more ready to play. Skipping over Ryan Bates, then we go to Tevin Jenkins. Tevin Jenkins, if he can stay on the field, then he is a potential game-changing sort of guy. And then if he's not, then Coleman Shelton or Ryan Bates becomes that plug-and-play guy, and maybe that improves the team. A little consistency would be very, very nice, especially if Tevin can maintain his health. And then we have Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones, up-and-coming prospect in his third year. I guess, this year would be his fourth year, but he's been really good so far. Not great, but good, solid. Larry Borum has not been. However, Braxton Jones, the clear starter, but we've brought in Kiran Emagaji as a backup. The guy shows a lot of potential. We brought in Matt Pryor as a backup. The guy shows a lot of potential. So this line probably better than it was last year. Now, in getting that, they were ranked 20th in the latest NFL offensive line power rankings by the Spin Zone, and they were ranked number 16 on NFL.com. So we're getting to the upper, at least middle of the pack in terms of the offensive line. The only thing we can do from here is see how they play and how they sort of mesh together and what the sum of these parts look like when it's all together. And again, I want to say this. I think that what we're missing, and for this, the thing that we're missing the most is a quarterback who can make quick decisions and make throws on the fly and not get stuck spending a lot of time trying to figure out what they're going to do next. And we have to be fair, even if you're a fan like I am of Justin Fields, we have to recognize he represented a problem for this team that made it very difficult for the team to look good as an offensive line, because even if they're breaking down, if he's making quick throws or he's throwing the ball away and he's going to the next play, they still look a little bit better, but he was not. He was holding the ball too long. He was creating a problem for this offense. Now, if that's the case, and if Caleb Williams is the fix for that, if he's the fix for that, then suddenly everything changes about the dynamic of this offensive line. And if that is the case, then it is absolutely possible that this offensive line starts to look like what we were hoping it would look like before, because because Bagent made them look good, right? If your argument is well, why didn't they look like a Pro Bowl team with a Division II quarterback rookie who was in his first couple of games? Here's what I'll say. They went 2-2 during that period of time after losing their first 4 games. So suddenly they looked vastly improved and had a 500 record after having a 0 record under Justin Fields during that period of time. They won the 5th game, but the point remains that they suddenly look like a viable offensive line. And by the way, you do have to remember, Bagent made them look better than Justin Fields did. Plain and simple. No matter how you look at it, those were the first 2 victories of the season. There was 1 victory before that, but 2 of the first 3 victories were under Tyson Bagent in the same offensive line that was sucking. And look, Tyson Bagent made quicker decisions. He made quicker reads. Luke Getsy, we still have a problem with Luke Getsy as the play caller. And Tyson Bagent, he's got a noodle for an arm. He didn't have a lot of arm strength, and that showed. So, he tried to loft the ball and throw it up there. Things that work in Division II college, they don't work in the NFL. So the Bears were better. The Bears looked better under Tyson Bagent on the offensive line than they did under Justin Fields. Now, and look, you can look at 400 yards rushing, and you can say, well, yeah, but Justin Fields did this or Justin Fields did that. And look, that's fair enough. We were the number 1 rushing offense to begin with. So you can say, well, yeah, but we were rushing a lot. Sure. However, it's pass protection that really and truly matters. And the Bears need a quarterback who can get the ball out a little bit early. Now, the question is, will Caleb Williams be that guy? Will he get the ball out early? Will he make the right reads and the right throws? Well, part of the problem was also when it came to wide receivers, Darnell Mooney and rookie Tyler Scott were not a good and effective 2 and 3 combination. DJ Moore, 96. He had 96 catches, over 1,000 yards. So, DJ Moore was doing his part, but nobody else was doing their part. Cole Kmet, I guess you could argue, was doing his part. But after those two guys, what was left? Roschon Johnson had more receptions, or it had the same number of receptions as Darnell Mooney. Roschon is a backup running back. Just let that all sink in. Now, the question is, does this become better when you have more tools around you? And the obvious answer should be yes. I can assure you that the Green Bay Packers can't keep everybody. And look, Green Bay Packers arguably the very best line. Detroit Lions maybe arguably 1 and 2. Maybe those guys are 1 and 2. Maybe San Francisco also is in that top 3, right? Maybe so. However, the Bears handled at least Detroit pretty well from that offensive line perspective. Maybe not the Green Bay Packers, but look, when you're making quick decisions and when you're making quick reads and you have receivers who are getting open in space, you make Jordan Love look good, and that offensive line looks better because of it. So I do tend to think that, just perhaps, we're a lot better this season than we were before. Mooney refused to sign an extension 2 seasons in a row because he couldn't stand busting. Well, that could be that could be part of it, So and I agree. Look, I think that Caleb Williams makes this team look a lot better, at least on paper. It remains to be seen, how well we actually do. But as it stands right now, so to close that out, Ryan Bates now at the center position, maybe Coleman Shelton. But let's just consider at least we've got Matt Pryor, which I think is an upgrade to Larry Borum. We've got Kirana Magaji, which I think is an upgrade potentially to Larry Borum. Let the guy get a little time in. Let's see how he does. But this is an upgraded offensive line it's probably going to play a lot better and look a lot better. So coming in at number 20 on Spin Zone, and then on NFL.com coming in at number 16. So then we have the linebackers. The Bears now own a huge edge at linebacker over last year, and they think that it's something that's going to carry over into the season. So with TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds back at weak side and middle respectively, there's no and then the strong side, of course, is Jack Sanborn. But the Bears have their 2 playmaking linebackers established. There's no less confident in strong side Jack Sanborn because of his experience in the base or backing up either of the 2 who are always on the field. As linebacker coach Dave Borgonzi noted with a pun, he took full responsibility for Sanborn is a jack of all trades. As cornerback Jalen Johnson put it, linebackers, I feel like we are stacked with TJ, Tremaine, and Jack. We've got some depth at the backer. While there are concerns in the back about the impact of a new safety and up front with a different starting 3 technique in Gervon Dexter, the linebackers are completely ahead of 1 year ago as they already know how to play this scheme. When you think about it, we played 17 games, about 1,100 game reps, thousands of practice reps, Borgonzi said, compared to last year when we were going into it with no reps. You have everything to teach off of, to learn and to understand the system. So the Bears feel like their linebacker core going to be far superior to what it was over the last couple of years. So it's been awesome just to have that consistency in the linebacker room, and they feel like we can hit the ground running and start to pick up on this quickly. It's going to be a huge asset to the defense overall, and it's going to make them look a whole lot better. Time together within any scheme puts you at a much better clip when you get to the start of OTAs or when you get to the start of mandatory mini camps. You're going to have to not go through the basics, and you're going to be able to get into the intricacies. And if you remember, one of the complaints that Jalen Johnson famously had at the end of this past season was, we didn't really get a whole lot of situational reps in. Well, maybe because you're doing a lot of base reps. And I'm doing that, by the way. I don't know that is the reason. However, it would stand to reason that if you're working on the basics, you just don't have you don't have time to get into situational football. Well, now perhaps you get into situational football, and now a team that likes to throw a lot of screens, maybe you practice against the screens. Maybe you don't just walk through it one time. Maybe you get a chance to practice and practice and practice and get ready for it so that the team is far more prepared. And that's the benefit of having a team that's been working together. So it's an advantage Green Bay will not have this year on defense because the new system and coordinator. But with the Lions and the Vikings, this is going to be one of those big seasons for the Chicago Bears. And by the way, there is a post out here that to give you an idea of how young the Bears are. This right here should be telling. Rome Odunze is 21. Gervon Dexter, Caleb Williams, Darnell Wright, all three are 22. Roschon, Jack Sanborn, Tyreek Stevenson, all 23. Kyler Gordon and Terrell Smith, 24. Jaquan Brisker, Tremaine Edmonds, Jalen Johnson, Braxton Jones, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift, 25. Look at how young this team is. If they can put this together and they can develop and continue to get better and better and better, just imagine the depth, the talent, how much there really is on this team. I mean, really, let's take a step back. Whether you like what happened last year or not, whether you like what happened the year before or not, we were able to pull in what you would call a haul. Then take into account the pieces that were already existing, the pieces that were already here, or the young talent that we brought in. Again, Rome Odunze, is he going to be great? I don't know. We think so, hope so. Gervon Dexter, he's going to be better than he was last year. Caleb Williams, we think that he's a great talent. It remains to be seen. Darnell Wright, big rookie second year, hopefully just like Gervon Dexter. They both have big rookie second years, and guess what? This team is vastly superior. Then you have Roschon Johnson. And look, Roschon Johnson is going to be a very big surprise on this team. I think he's going to be, I think Khalil Herbert's probably going to move on. And I think that Roschon Johnson becomes the backup at some point during the season. I think that Khalil Herbert at this point is probably trade bait, but we'll see. Jack Sanborn, he's got a little bit more time in the system. Tyreek Stevenson, this is his third year, or this is his second year, another significant upgrade. This is a defense with all of these rookies in place that are now going to be second year players from the previous year. Gervon Dexter, Darnell Wright, Roschon Johnson, Jack Sanborn, Tyreek, like these guys are getting into the thick of things. Kyler Gordon and Terrell Smith. By the way, Terrell Smith and Kyler Gordon both graded out as two of the better defensive players on this team. Of course, they didn't see limited time because there were injuries. Jalen Johnson was out for a while, and they're part of the rotation, and Kyler is the nickel. So they had a lot of playing time, and they played good ball. However, again, what we do have to say is during that period, it was also, and it should be recognized, they were the 25th ranked pass defense. So are we really that good is really, that's the question, right? And I think that we're better than how we performed, but that remains to be seen. Jaquan Brisker, Tremaine Edmonds, Jalen Johnson, Braxton Jones, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift, all of them 25. Cole Kmet finally had a breakout. Jalen Johnson, of course, one of the best in the league. Tremaine Edmonds, it is an admirable Mike. So, and Jaquan Brisker has been a great strong safety. DeAndre Swift, we'll see how that goes. Braxton Jones, does he continue to improve? Guys, there's a very young team that is ready for a big. There we go. This will be Braxton Jones' third season. So how he does this year is going to be a big predicator on how he continues to develop, or if he continues to develop, or how long it takes before Karan Magaji gets thrown into the fire. And by the way, that might end up being something that happens. If Braxton Jones struggles, you might see Matt Pryor. And then by mid-season, you could see Karan Magaji if he gets his look. If he improves, then we may be like YOLO. Let's just go for it and see what happens. And it's going to get interesting. And by the way, injuries are going to happen. And when the injuries happen, how are these guys all going to take their places? What if DeAndre Swift gets injured right away? Roschon Johnson, is he the number, does he become the default number one guy? That's our guy, if you will. So a lot to like about what's going on with the Chicago Bears. But the linebackers have a big possibility of being one of the keys to this team. And by the way, I would like to see is it just me? Let me know what you think in the comments, by the way. Did the Bears not blitz enough? Do you think that we just kind of stayed in our base defense just a little bit too much last year, that there were no real exotic sort of schemes that we didn't really see? We actually saw a few towards the end of the season, I think. But did it seem on way too many occasions when we needed to get pressure on the quarterback that we were actually only rushing 4 or maybe at best 5 didn't it feel like, why are we not loading the box and just coming after the guys? You know what I mean? Like, and if we did have a blitz, it's one guy blitzing, and it was nothing exotic. There was nothing that I thought really stood out. This was just a base defense all season long. And I hope that means that Eric Washington plans on introducing some kind of blitzes into the scheme. And then I hope that means that Matt Eberflus gets more confident in calling a lot more blitzes. Like, let's pressure the quarterback. Let's make the quarterback make quicker decisions. If the quarterback makes quicker decisions, then he makes a more wrong decision, in my opinion, hopefully. And, we get some pressure. And if we get some pressure, how does the secondary stand up? And look, I mean, let's go back down the list here. Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, fantastic corners. Jaquan Brisker has been a great free safety. Hopefully, Kevin Byard is as well. And then you have Kyler Gordon and Terrell Smith, who are subbing in and out. And look, these guys are really good, or they have been really good. There's no reason for them to rank 25th. So there has to be more to this team. And I do hope and like I really think that obviously Matt Eberflus saw that. I think he knows that. I don't think that I'm telling you anything that he hasn't seen already and recognized already. Do we have to get better with our base defense rushing? Yes, of course we do. Rushing the passer, of course. However, you got to give him help. You got to have somebody in there who makes these blockers. Look, if you double team Montez Sweat and you got a man sweeping around the edge outside of Montez Sweat or coming to the inside, then you're going to pull somebody off Montez. There's so many different things about this defense that could get so much better if we just gave them that opportunity and that shot, that I think that, this team could be vastly improved just by virtue of better calls. You know what I mean? Just some better calls, and I think this team dramatically improves. But back to it. So defensively, then finally, the Bears tell season ticket holders, hey, we got one less game and we're going to charge you more. So that's called McCaskeyism. Haha. That's crazy to me. By the way, it is crazy to me. The Bears season ticket holders will have one less game in their ticket package this season than they did, but they're not seeing a reduction in price. Despite having tickets to just 9 games, 1 preseason and 8 regular season instead of the usual 10, the ticket prices will increase. Sun Times reported that in an email earlier this year, season ticket holders, they wrote the season ticket package has increased an average of 8%, with increases ranging from 6 to 11%. When broken down per game, the Sun Times reported notes that the per ticket increase was higher for many fans than what the Bears letter said. That's because one of the team's 9 home games in 2024 will actually be played in London. The Bears will be designated the home team against Jacksonville. NFC teams this season have the extra home game on the NFL 17 game regular season schedule, giving them 9. But with one of those games in London, the Bears will only have 8 games. So that means an average of $176.80 per ticket in 2023 now becomes $210 per ticket in 2024. That's an increase of $33 per ticket, or 18.9%. So did the Bears deceive you and lie to you and mislead you? Well, it's the McCaskeys. So I'm just saying, if you know what I'm saying. So we'll see how that plays out. Again, happy birthday to Byron Cowart. And let's kick this off, guys. I just want to close this out with, here it is one more time for you guys to see. Guys, look at now, of course, there's the video here and Byron Cowart's birthday, but look at this. This is Keenan. This is Keenan in his gear. You can see this. He's now in the number 13. So we've got some art from the team. In fact, there's more. There is, there we go. And there we go. And then we've got, I think we've even got a picture down here of, we got DeAndre Swift using the color scheme that they're using right now. And then we've got Austin Booker signing his contract. And then we've got, there we go. Then we got this one right here, wearing different types of outfits. So you can get a sense of what the team is going to look like right now. So we've got some pictures of the team doing their thing, which is a very cool kind of thing to see. And by the way, if you haven't already, certainly go check out the Chicago Bears bloopers for that video that they did kicking off the season. And yeah, I think that's going to be I think that's going to be pretty fun. I think this is going to be one of those seasons that we're going to remember for a long time. All right, just my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but let me know in the comments down below. I got to go. It's time to get that swole on. So I appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time to come over here and check me out. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Helps me out. Looks like we got a few, we got a pretty good crowd today. So, by all means, hit that like button. Helps me out. Push me up in the algorithm. Share it with as many people as you have. I think that this team is going to be fantastic. We're cutting these a little bit shorter. I know normally we do this for an hour, but we're cutting it a little bit shorter right now because there's not that much to go. Once the OTAs are out, we see how the Bears do in these OTAs. We start getting information out, then we'll have probably more to talk about tomorrow. So anyway, bear down, and we'll talk to you again very